So my name is William Martin. I was assigned to 83 Engine on September 11th, 2001. I retired from Squad 41 in the South Bronx in June of 2008. And I spent many months at Ground Zero. I was a survivor, collapse of the North Tower. And I am happy to be here. I'm honored. And the reason I do these kind of things is so that people never forget. I think that is the key. This is certainly not about me. It's about the true heroes that got killed on 9/11, that continue to die from 9/11 related cancers and illnesses, and we do it in their memory. Yeah, 9/11 was challenging in the fact that you know, you go down there with all these objectives in mind as you're driving down there. You're thinking, you know, first of all, you're going to get an ass beating walking up the stairs, right? There's so much to do when you get there. You're going to be exhausted. You got to put water on the fire. There's so much fire. There's so many guys. How's the command structure working? You know, blah, blah, blah. Then you get there. Your adrenaline is going, you want to do the right thing, you're there to do the right thing, and then the towers collapse. And your whole raison d'etre of being a fireman is now gone because there's nothing to put, there's no fire to go in the building and take care of, you know, and it's like, well, now what? Now we're search and rescue people, you know, but we don't know what we're doing. Obviously, you know what you're doing. You're just looking, but it was so dangerous. The pile was so tenuous. So it was almost just moving. You know, it was just you had to be careful where you were. Had to be careful where you went. You had to be careful what you stepped on. You know, you don't know. You don't want to, God forbid, hurt somebody else underneath you or pull something out like Jenga and the whole pile comes on top of you and you hurt the guys you're with or something, anything like that. The second tower had just gotten hit, and I mean, as soon as that tower got hit, we got dispatched. The captain looked at the ticket and said, oh my gosh, we're not supposed to be here. We're supposed to be at a firehouse in Harlem, which if we'd have just gone over the bridge, the firehouse is right there. It's like on 3rd Avenue. It was like the bridge and a couple blocks, and we would have been there anyway. So we made the right, coming back up 3rd Avenue, and I am literally hanging out the window screaming. I'm cursing a blue streak because we're the New York City Fire Department. We go to the danger. We're not going away from the danger, and at this point, we were going away from the danger. So as soon as we got to 35 Engine, all the other rigs had already arrived. All the other firemen were there waiting for us now. So if we'd have been there first, they'd all been there, and we'd have left earlier. If we'd have gone straight down there, we would have just been there earlier, and all of us would have been killed because we would have been in the building by that point, you know? So that little 15-minute dipsy-do coming back up 3rd Avenue saved about 40 guys' lives. And like I said, when it collapsed, that all got taken away from us as far as a firefighting standpoint. And then everything was on fire regardless. I mean, everything was on fire. I always say that. I mean, the paper in the air was on fire. Fire trucks were on fire. Police cars were on fire. Ambulances, you know, civilian cars. It was hellacious how much fire there was and how quiet it was. That's the real kicker. It was so, and for all the destruction that just happened. Now, we didn't know the South Tower had come completely down yet. We knew there was we knew there was a collapse. The North Tower was still roaring. So I got ahead of myself there. So we're walking down, and the North Tower collapses. We're under the North Tower. I'm looking up at the antenna, and I'm like, how can that be? And here it comes. So I told my buddy Dave in the pit, I said, run. And we just grabbed everybody and started running back up West Street. We got inundated with that big dust cloud that you see on TV. You know, everything was pitch black. You couldn't breathe. You couldn't see. It was just like, holy crap, this is unbelievable. This is how we're going to die? And then when we got to the pile, everything was on fire and all this other stuff. And there was no water to put anything out with. You know, there was no water supply because when the towers collapsed, it just decimated the infrastructure, all the hydrants, all the plumbing, all the pipes. So we tried to get residual water from some standpipes in some adjoining buildings, and it was just, you know, they have to be supplied typically in New York City. I mean, they have, some of them have wet standpipes, some of them don't, but whatever was in there was just, you know, was like a garden hose in comparison to what we needed. So it wasn't really working well, and the pressure was terrible, and it was just not enough water to go around. So, but it was staggering, the amount of devastation, and like then at that point it was very, 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 very quiet, and you know, guys were just gone. And then we have what's called a pass alarm on our gear. And the pass alarm is if you get, say you're in an apartment and you go unconscious or you get hurt and you can't move, it sends out a shrill beeping, and the longer you're immobile, the louder and more annoying it gets, so you can be found. And we started hearing those going off all around Ground Zero. We kind of knew where you know, guys were buried, or we just didn't know how deep, you know. So, and like I said earlier, we found two guys who had sought refuge under a fire truck, but that fire truck really couldn't bear the brunt of what came down on top of it, so they were crushed to death. And then the lieutenant that we were taking out of the Marriott to get to the ambulance, he had, I think he had already succumbed to his injuries as well, but he was crushed and burned pretty badly. But that's the only day in the ensuing months that I was at Ground Zero that we ever found a whole body. Everything after that was just parts of people, and you know, just try to get that to the morgue and get the medical examiner on it, and try to get ID and get it down the line to the families for a proper burial, you know. But yeah, 9/11 was September 11th was a crazy day, as far as pure exhaustion, pure adrenaline, pure exhaustion. You didn't know what, you know, they were always tasking us with different things and going to different places and trying to do the best we could with what we had, you know, and just always didn't seem like it was enough, you know. That's why I always say that the real heroes died on 9/11. The real heroes died on 9/11, and they continue to die, you know, from 9/11 related injuries and cancers and different things. It's not good for sure. I think we're up over 300, and I don't know if we're back to 343 or not, but it's certainly a lot. And that's just the firemen. The cops have the same number. You know, volunteers, nurses, you know, Salvation Army people, you know, I'm sure they've all passed away from some semblance of 9/11 related injuries. Doctors, I know, nurses. So, yeah, not done yet. So, so we were leaving, and a guy asked us for a ride to Brooklyn, and his firehouse is right over the Brooklyn Bridge. One of the bridges, Manhattan Bridge maybe. Anyway, so we brought him over there. We dropped him off. We were coming back up through Manhattan, and we saw another fireman walking, and we said, "Hey, you want to ride?" He's like, "Yeah, of course." Excuse me. So he jumps in, and this is always the saddest part of my day. You know, at this point, there's a full recall of the fire department. There's probably a list of a partial list of people that are missing, guys that are missing. Not presumed dead necessarily, but presumed dead as well. You know, I mean, being realistic, it's you know, not many people. You either got killed on 9/11 or you lived through 9/11. There were very few injuries, very few rescues. So, you know, you always see the pictures of the Manhattan hospitals down there waiting. They're like all the nurses and doctors are on the street literally waiting for injured people, and very, very few come because you either got out or you got killed. So we pick up this guy and we take him up to 54 engine and 4 truck, and we're rolling up. There's like a whole bunch of women outside against the fire department, against the door and the wall, and I'm like, oh my God, this is not good. So, you know, when they saw the fire truck, they kind of lit up a little bit because they thought that was maybe their guys coming back finally, and it wasn't. It was just us dropping off another brother, but all the guys from that firehouse got killed. I think there was 13 or 15 of those guys died, and that was the most tragic thing I'd seen all day. Was these women, you know, moms and sisters and fiancés and wives, and just hysterical crying outside the firehouse, and then we show up with a glimmer of hope and it gets dashed. You know, it was unnerving to see that. You know, then of course you're going to 343 funerals for the next year. A lot of people didn't have parts or bodies, and they didn't, you know, they had services. They really couldn't do funerals, and yeah, it was a trying year for sure after that. But getting back to the firemen don't listen, it was our eyes took a beating. It was really, really bad. Everybody's eyes were, because it was so gritty. You had to squint for everything. You couldn't see, and then oddly enough, the water made it worse because it kind of caked up the cement. You know, not that it re-cemented, but it was just annoying. But it was, and you know, thinking about it, we weren't thinking about it. We weren't like, I can't go on. You know, it was like, this is really annoying, but we got to get down there and we got to take care of business. You know what I mean? So that's what we did. I mean, you just did what you had to do. You drank some water and moved on. Yeah. But
sounds like hell.
It was hellacious. It really was, you know. And then you run into guys. Oh man, you're happy to see them, but hey, wasn't that other guy in your company? Where is he? You know, we're looking for him. We don't know where he is. You know, shoot, man. You know, and we had, you know, you see guys from Proby school. You see guys that you played softball with. You know, like, hey, where's so and so? You know, where's so and so? And it wasn't good. And that's I knew a lot of the guys from the softball team and the Proby school. You know, in '95, and it was just like, damn, I got him too. You know, so. And then the whole hierarchy of the fire department that they took, I mean, you really couldn't have planned a better day. They got some of the most top-notch, highly decorated officers and firemen that we had to offer, and they all got killed. It was crazy. I mean, you know, the special command units, you know, you got guys that are gung-ho, and that's just, you know, that's not fine, but you also had just regular fire captains and lieutenants that were just special, you know, and you look at the roster of guys that got killed, you're like, wow, that's unbelievable. Like, knowledge that will never be imparted again. Just decimated, you know. Senior guys, you know, the senior guy is the key to the house. The officers are babysitters. The senior guy is who's in charge of the firehouse. And when you lose your senior guy, it hurts. Your traditions are, you know, I mean, they're still there, but he was there to instill them in the young guys, and he was there to make sure that the officers and the men got along, and, you know, it was just, so when you see some of these guys that got killed, it's like, oh man, that's unbelievable. Like, you couldn't have just randomly picked a better day to have these guys at work, you know, and they did. But yeah, there was some heavy funerals. Staggering the loss of life that's still going on. I mean, we just, like I said, the guy tomorrow, I'm not sure if he died of 9/11 related illnesses, but, you know, when you die at 57, kind of unexpectedly, it's for us, that's right in keeping with what's going on with the rest of us, you know. Buried so many guys so young, it's just tragic. But, you know, we have a running joke with the 4 guys I was with, like, who's next, you know, who's first? You know, so far, now we're 20 years into it, nobody's really been really sick. Mike had some prostate cancer, but they got rid of that, so good. But, you know, It's like we should have a pool or something, you know, who's first, you know, 500 to the winner. But it's, you know, and you know from the first day of 9/11 that they say that your lungs are now like 12 years older than you are, right? There's that, they figured that out. And, you know, you got guys dropping dead all the time and all these different funky cancers and things like that. So you just, you know, I just want to go do have as much fun as I can at work as possible for till they catch up with me. And so there were nights where I would, you know, I'd have to go hide on the other side of the rig, and I'd be coughing up a storm, or I'd have an asthma attack. It's small one, nothing crazy. But I didn't want to go to the doctor because I knew that they would retire me. And I just didn't want to be retired yet. The day they retired me, the next day I was 40. So, you know, what do you do? You know? So that's what I did. I kind of hid in plain sight. I just hid and went to all these extra fires and had a great time. And then that one fourth alarm in Harlem, like I said, we worked. We really worked, and I guess I really worked my body to a point where it was like, hey, dude, you know, this is not good for you. So, yep, they said, yeah, you're done. And I watched when I took the test. You can see that it's just like, instead of going, it's going this way. I'm like, I'm done. So I brought the test to the doctor. He smacked me on the shoulder. He goes, yeah, you're finished. Having given kind of a second lease on life, I realized that I was squandering my time from God. So I kind of made some changes and became a better man, became a better husband, became a better dad, and that's helped a whole lot of things really, really well. So that's been good. I currently help run a program called Fraternus, which is it's a Catholic men's group that mentors to young men between 6th and 12th grade in the 7 virtues of the Catholic faith. And we have this is our 5th year, and we have about somewhere over 125, 130 registered men and boys, you know, dads and their sons, and it's good. It keeps us grounded. It keeps us alive in the faith, and it keeps God at our forefront.